Imagine a secret CIA program so brazen it dosed people with LSD in hidden brothels, all in the name of mind control. Project MKUltra sounds like a spy thriller, but it was real. In fact, MKUltra went far beyond controlling spies. Its chilling legacy shows how controlling human behavior became a strategy for power. In Cold War America, behavior itself was seen as a currency. The CIA quietly tested drugs, hypnosis, and torture on unwitting subjects to learn how to bend wills. What they discovered never fully vanished. Decades later, those same psychological tricks have been repackaged in the boardrooms and algorithms that shape markets and minds today. This is the untold story of MKUltra and how the business of controlling minds is tied to controlling markets. Origins: the Cold War race to master the mind in the early 1950s. Fear of brainwashing ran wild. American leaders had just seen captured Korean War POs return spouting communist propaganda. The CIA braced for psychological warfare. In 1953, director Alan Dulles approved the launch of Project MKUltra. History.com, PsychologyToday.com. Ostensibly, MKUltra's goal was defensive: develop a truth serum and techniques to control human behavior for interrogation. But it was a blank check for experimentation. Over the next decade, the CIA funded over 150 secret projects at 80 universities, hospitals, and prisons. History.com, PsychologyToday.com. Chemical expert Sidney Gottlieb ran the program. Under his watch, doctors gave LSD, barbiturates, mescaline, and more to soldiers, mental patients, addicts, often without consent. History.com, PsychologyToday.com. Hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and extreme electroshock were also tested. As one report later noted, from 1953 to 1964 the U.S. government tested the utility of hypnosis and LSD for clandestine purposes. PsychologyToday.com. There, government-employed prostitutes lured unsuspecting men to safe houses and spiked their drinks with LSD. Agents gleefully watched behind two-way mirrors, recording every reaction, while the victims, believing it was a party, had no idea they were part of an experiment. History.com. The rise. MKUltra's experiments unleashed. As MKUltra grew, its methods became more extreme. In one notorious case, Army scientist Dr. Frank Olson was given LSD without his knowledge at a CIA retreat. History.com. Days later, Olson plunged to his death from a New York hotel window. The CIA first called it suicide, then admitted only later, after a congressional report, that it had dosed Olson. His family eventually received a presidential apology and a settlement. This was the kind of price paid by those who cooperated with MKUltra's twisted agenda. The project spiraled. Hypnotists at Columbia and Harvard pushed students to breaking points, sometimes torturing them into compliance. PsychologyToday.com. History.com. Researchers like Canadian psychiatrist Ewan Cameron lobotomized patients and drugged them for months in an attempt to erase their memories. In fact, MKUltra ended up bankrolling hundreds of researchers, 162 sub-projects at 80 institutions, with 185 researchers in total. PsychologyToday.com. Most of it hidden from Congress and the public. The stated aim was brainwashing Soviets, but the real experiments often targeted innocent Americans, soldiers, prisoners, even mental hospital patients. PsychologyToday.com. There were unwitting guinea pigs in a government lab. The breaking point. Revelations and outrage. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, MKUltra's abuses were an open secret in some circles. Journalists and victims started asking questions. Then in 1974, journalist Seymour Hersh revealed the CIA's illegal domestic programs in a New York Times expose. History.com. Congress was outraged. In 1975 to 1976, the Rockefeller Commission and the Senate's Church Committee investigated MKUltra and other abuses. History.com. Secret documents were recovered. The rest had mostly been shredded on CIA orders. PsychologyToday.com. The hearings exposed how badly MKUltra violated American values. People were drugged and betrayed by their own government. In response, President Ford issued a 1976 executive order explicitly forbidding experimentation with drugs on human subjects without informed consent. History.com. The moral was clear. Unchecked secret programs like MKUltra had gone too far. The public learned that the CIA had been trying to turn LSD into an interrogation drug but found it too unpredictable. History.com. MKUltra was shut down, at least on paper, and the CIA claimed it failed to achieve its goals. Fallout, secrets, apologies, and not quite closure. With MKUltra officially ended, the government acted as if the ordeal was over. Some perpetrators quietly retired. Others continued in intelligence with no accountability. The victims, however, carried scars. A few families sued. Frank Olson's case finally won an apology from President Ford and CIA Director Colby. History.com. Ethical rules were tightened. Institutional review boards were strengthened, and doctors who had participated were left to debate guilt or necessity. Yet the knowledge gained from MKUltra could not be forgotten. Like a burned book, parts of MKUltra's playbook lingered. The psychologists who learned about conditioning and suggestion at CIA expense later moved to universities and corporations. Some say that rock star Ken Kesey participated in CIA LSD tests at Stanford, then took LSD home, literally triggering the hippie acid tests and a 100 million counterculture movement. History.com. The CIA may not have intended that outcome, but it showed how experimenting with minds can backfire in unexpected ways. Importantly, the same year Ford signed the ban on non-consensual drug testing, Gerald Ford also pardoned Nixon. McCarthy-style paranoia shifted into a new phase. The official records called MKUltra a dangerous aberration that had been curbed. But many wondered, if the CIA did this in secret for 20 years, might other covert programs continue? Modern parallels. Mind control in the digital age. Fast forward to today. MKUltra may have ended, but the game has changed and it's bigger than a government. Instead of dim safe houses and LSD, the new frontier is our everyday devices and data. Every time we click like or search online, we generate psychological data. As an Amnesty International report noted, Cambridge Analytica bragged it had up to 5,000 personal data points on each American voter. Amnesty.org. It scraped private information from 87 million Facebook profiles. Amnesty.org to micro-target ads in elections. In effect, a private company ran its own MKUltra-style operation, profiling people's personalities and then feeding them messages engineered to change their behavior. Amnesty.org. Amnesty.org. This is the new business of controlling minds and markets. Big tech companies are the new intelligence agencies. Facebook and Google have amassed data vaults on each of us far beyond what we knowingly share. They track our browsing, purchases, even our moods. Their algorithms run A/B tests on billions of users, subtly tweaking what we see and buy. Google famously developed ad tools so precise that they can sway people's beliefs and change behavior via what experts call social engineering. Amnesty.org. In other words, corporations now have the power to nudge society almost at will. The scale is staggering. Advertising has become a trillion-dollar industry. In fact, global ad spend is projected to top $1 trillion in 2024. WR.com. After years of growth, and just 5 tech giants Google, Meta or Facebook, Amazon, ByteDance or TikTok, Alibaba now account for over half of that spending. WR.com. Social media ads alone will exceed $227 billion next year. WR.com. That means the tools to influence behavior, data analytics, targeted ads, recommendation algorithms are funded in the hundreds of billions. MKUltra's lesson was that controlling individual minds could serve national aims. Today's reality is that controlling consumer behavior serves corporate profits. Your attention and choices have become the most valuable currency. Companies apply psychographic profiling on us just as MKUltra researchers applied LSD. The result is a world where we are constantly nudged by hidden algorithms and ads tailored so carefully it can be imperceptible. This mirrors MKUltra's original goal, to shape how people think and act, but now done at Instagram scale. Even our cutting-edge tech echoes the past. Brain-computer interfaces BCIs like Elon Musk's Neuralink came to let disabled people control computers with their minds. News.harvard.edu. This is life-changing. But Harvard bioethicist Lucas Meyer cautions that the same tools could resurrect McUltra's nightmares. With these capabilities, he warns, we move dangerously close to inadvertently enabling one of the main goals of Cold War intelligence programs. News.harvard.edu. Another ethics paper notes that if McUltra's architects had today's tech, they might attempt the same mind control with improved technology. News.harvard.edu. In China even, parents bought kids' brainwave tracking headbands to improve focus, a real-world tech eerily reminiscent of an intelligence program. The pattern is clear. Whenever technology advances, the impulse to control minds follows. From subliminal advertising on radio in the 1950s, to TV commercials in the 1980s, to the internet now, the methods evolve but the goal remains. Each generation must ask, how much autonomy do we willingly sacrifice for convenience, entertainment, or security? Takeaways: power corrupts influence. McUltra showed how far a government might go, using clandestine science on its own people. History.com. But it also taught us that secrecy and unchecked power can violate our most basic rights. Surveillance capitalism is today's McUltra. Tech and ad companies have turned brain science into profit. We live in a world where Facebook and Google quietly compile data exhaust from every click. Amnesty.org and can direct content that nudges beliefs. Amnesty.org. The personal data harvested from millions of users drives marketing campaigns and even elections, echoing McUltra's manipulation on a global scale. Vigilance and awareness are vital. We may not be strapped to chairs anymore, but we are still being tested by algorithms. Knowing that our likes and fears are being monitored means we can guard our privacy and think critically about the media we consume. Transparency, informed consent, and ethics in tech and finance are the safeguards society needs. Warning: McUltra teaches us that no society is immune to these dangers. We might dismiss the past as forgotten history, but with AI, social media, and neurotech advancing, the experiments are not over, they've just moved online. As one expert warned, the quest to control minds is not implausible with today's technologies. News.harvard.edu. If we don't stay alert, the next generation might inherit a reality even more manipulated than ours. Call to action: the truth about hidden systems matters. If this deep dive into McUltra and the modern mind control business gave you something to think about, subscribe for more investigative histories and share this video to keep the conversation going. Stay curious, stay critical, and demand the transparency we all deserve.